I'm going to try to tell you a little story. And this is one of the...
Do we need lights on?
Can you speak up?
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to try and tell you a little story about my life. I moved to the United States about 10 years ago. So it was actually early 2002. When I first moved here, looked pretty much as you see me today. I mean, obviously 10 years younger, but like physically, I resemble what you see now. When I got here, what I discovered was that I had no idea what foods to eat. All the things that I had been accustomed to eating in England, which is where I'd moved from, were just not available. If I went to the supermarket or the grocery store, the brands weren't the same. If I went to the restaurants, the fast food wasn't the same. The food in general was very different and kind of tasted a lot sweeter and sugarier. And there were a lot of very sort of strange, even things that looked like they would be the same, just felt different. And so I ate burritos, and because that's what everyone else seemed to be eating, and I randomly guessed, went out a lot to restaurants and so on. And gradually I started to, when I looked in the mirror, notice that, I was not quite the same as I'd become accustomed to. I was used to looking at myself and thinking, yeah, I'm kind of thin and the way I feel like I should be. And I couldn't tell if it was just my mind. And this was very real. I would look in the mirror and I'd sort of think, nah, I'm not really getting fat. I'm sort of the same as I was. And it took till 2004 for two events to occur. One was the social network Orca was released, and someone tried to take a photo of me to be a profile picture, and I couldn't, I had to lie on my back for someone to take a photo that I considered acceptable, because stood up I kind of looked, just padded. And a friend of mine who had known me in England for about 10 years, even before I moved here, made this comment to me over lunch one day. He said, "Oh, Robin, I used to think of you as a thin guy." And when he said that, I couldn't any longer remain in denial. So, this question, why am I doing this to myself, emerged in my mind. And I spent quite a lot of time, probably about 6 months, kind of thinking about, why is it, how have I become this way? I obviously wasn't happy with my appearance because I'd been kind of in denial for a year as I gained weight. But I also noticed that I was emotionally less sensitive, and that I was physically not feeling as good. It was evident to me that I was deteriorating. So, I came to the conclusion that either I'm broken, and a lot of people I think do think they're broken if they have gained weight, because my body had naturally maintained its own weight right up until something changed, and then I started to deteriorate, and one conclusion will be I'm doing something wrong, I don't really know how to change it. Diets don't work, right? I mean, some diets probably do work, but the general idea that you get about diets is they don't work. So I kind of thought diets don't work. But the alternative that I came to is maybe I can learn to regulate my weight. And by learn, I don't mean have a system that I practice. I mean I can teach my body to regulate my weight again in the way that it had done up until this point in my life. So what I did was devise a process which I hoped at the time, this was when I started doing this was just a theory, would enable my body to learn about the foods I was eating without me having to do a lot of analysis. No weighing of foods, no measuring of calories, no consideration of food pyramids or any of that kind of stuff. So all I did was every day I would eat whatever I wanted to at lunchtime, and I was working in a corporation that provided lunches, so I just picked from the menu and ate what I felt like. But then I had an alarm set for 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and at 3 o'clock I would answer this question: am I energized or lethargic? And I discovered that there was no point in weighing myself more frequently than once a week, because there were fluctuations within a week that were like more than the sort of, there was enough noise that it didn't help my mental state to look too frequently. So basically I just repeated this process, and I did it every day, and the menu was kind of boring, so it was easy to pick. It was kind of easy to pick. Let me see if I can get this going again. Yeah. Okay, there we are. So it was easy to go through this process kind of repetitively. And over time, what I started to find, a lot of the time, my answer to this question was lethargic. And over time, that started to shift. And that's actually, it's an approximation. It's not like, I know that the start and end are about the same, and I know the curve is about the same. This is not produced from precise measurement data, but it is, the beginning and end are certainly accurate, and roughly the time scale is accurate. So the numbers on there are right. So basically, over time, there was a long period where I was slowly gaining energy, but I wasn't actually losing weight. And then gradually I started to lose weight, and then it tailed off, and I got to this about 175 pound weight. And towards the end, I felt like I kind of had to put some effort into, I couldn't get past 175 pounds. For some reason I decided I wanted to, and it was impossible. So I gave up, and that's about the weight. I'm around 175, maybe 177, I fluctuate around there to this day. So I'm probably running out of time, aren't we? Yeah, okay. So to me, what's interesting about this, there was quantification involved. There was obviously, it's not really wanting to cooperate with me and bring me back that slide. Okay, there we go, okay. And this is kind of a Boolean. It's this 1 or 0, whatever you want to label it as. But I didn't do any analysis on paper to consume this data. The data was a way of directing my attention on a daily basis. So the kind of the whole data processing and figuring out what to do was kind of done by my subconscious or unconscious, whichever, whatever your favorite term is. So to me, that's what's interesting about this, that I was able to kind of train myself without having to think. The processing was done by my body. So there we go.
So I'm going to jump right in and say that it seems like I've been interested in the idea of self-tracking as it relates to quantification. It seems like this is a good example of no quantification, but a version of self-tracking, right? Because there's not a was there a quantification piece in there?
Well, you see, one way of doing it, I could have written all this stuff down every day. I did answer the question every day. Yeah. I just didn't pay attention other than on that day to the value. So I effectively threw away the data each day. I didn't throw away the weight data, but I did throw away the answer to this question. But the act of paying attention to the data is what caused the change, I believe.
Yeah. Does anyone have a pithy question? Let's go back there.
So your proposed mechanism then is a kind of subconscious association just between noting your energy levels at 3 p.m. and whatever you ate. And you never wrote down what you ate.
I did not write down what I ate, correct, yeah.
So you think it's just some subconscious association that developed?
Sure, I think that I came to associate the foods with the effect of the food because of directing my attention in this way. That's what I would say.
Cool. How about here? Walter.
And was it by gut feel or by words? In other words, the associations were I know if I eat that, I'm not going to feel well, or was it what do I feel like today? And since you intentionally want to feel energized?
A bit of both. Some days I would just pick something because it looked like, oh wow, that pasta looks great, and then over time I would start to just realize, yeah, but if I eat that, I'm going to feel sucky, So it was a bit of both.
That's funny about the 3 o'clock. I'm always tired at 3 o'clock myself. So why that moment? It's not like an hour after lunch. It's a moment where I think most people, if you go to take naps for 20 minutes, and then you start working again.
Right. I picked it because I did have a kind of idea that if I could increase my energy level, then I would.
Just walk this way. He's going to stop.
Okay.
It's okay. No, you can stay here. Just.
Okay.
And do you have any tips on how I won't get tired?
Well, yeah. Ask yourself this question at 3:00, and then pay attention to what you ate at lunchtime. I mean, it certainly had that as my energy level rose. But I figured that if my energy level rose, then I would use more energy too. So it'd be a double, the effect would be compounded. So that was partly behind it.
Yes.
Did you find yourself also asking the same question probably in the evening or in the morning?
No, but I didn't at this time, but since then, I have repeated that procedure in the morning, or at least after breakfast, like a few hours after breakfast, and that's had a different effect. It hasn't changed my weight, but it has changed my mood and energy level. So, yeah.
One last question.
Can I hear your question after that?
So was food the only variable, or did other things change during this feedback process, like your exercise or your?
No, my exercise stayed the same. I didn't do any more exercise. It was like the same corporation, the same commute.
What about your quantity of food?
No, that varied. Yeah, I ate less food. But it felt good to me.
Was lunch the only meal, or was this happening?
Yes. I mean, I didn't pay attention to any other meal, and I wasn't very, I didn't feel like I was very at another meal. Maybe I was, but it wasn't part of what I was thinking about.
Is it burning?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So would you call this accepting American cuisine or rising above it?
Can you repeat that?
Well, he said, was this accepting American cuisine or was it rising above it? Well, I eat quite a lot of hamburgers, and I did back then, and that was one. And I do now. I don't tend to eat the bread now, but so I guess it was accepting American cuisine and learning to love it in various different ways. You had a question?
Yeah, actually, we'll talk after.
Okay. Great. Thanks so much, Robin.